So we're going to have a look at finding angles in quadrilaterals. A quadrilateral is any four-sided figure. So squares, rectangles, kites, rhombus, parallelogram, but also any irregular shape that has four straight sides. And we can describe quadrilaterals as being either a convex quadrilateral, such as these two, and a convex quadrilateral has all angles less than 180 degrees. So they're either all acute angles or obtuse angles. A concave quadrilateral, also known as a non-convex quadrilateral, has at least one angle that is a reflex angle. So you can see that in a convex quadrilateral, all the sides, all the angles kind of push outwards. They all push out. But one of the angles in a concave quadrilateral pushes in. Okay, the angle sum of a quadrilateral. Well, we've learnt that in a triangle that the angle sum is 180 degrees. So when we add up all the internal angles, we get 180 degrees. In a quadrilateral, the angle sum of the internal angles is 360 degrees. I'm going to show you why. So there's a formula here where it tells us that the sum of the internal angles is equal to 180 times the number of sides minus 2. So let's have a look first at using that formula with a triangle, and we'll prove that it does have 180 degrees internal angles. So we can say S equals 180 times 3 minus 2, because the triangle has 3 sides. So S equals 180 times 1. So therefore the sum of the internal angles is 180 degrees. Let's have a look at a quadrilateral. So again, same formula, S equals 180 times the number of sides minus 2. So in this case 4 minus 2. So S equals 180 times 2. So S equals 360 degrees. Now, we'll come back and use this formula again when we look at shapes that have multiple sides. So it could be 5 sides, 6 sides, 10 sides. So we need to remember that in all quadrilaterals, the sum of the internal angles will always be 360 degrees. Okay, some special quadrilaterals that we're familiar with, such as a rectangle, a square, all have angles of 90 degrees. So 90 degrees in every corner. So 4 lots of 90, 360 degrees. Okay, in some other quadrilaterals, such as a parallelogram or a rhombus, there are different relationships. So we know that the internal angles will all add up to 360 degrees, but we can see here that these two angles opposite each other will be equal. So let's label them X. And these two angles here opposite each other will also be equal. So let's label them Y. Okay, something else we can see is that we have a set of parallel lines with 2 transversals. So here is our C shape forming some co-interior angles. So we can also say that X plus Y will be supplementary. That is, they will add to 180 degrees. So if X is 110 degrees, Y must be 70. If X is 130 degrees, Y must be 50. That same relationship exists in a rhombus. So here we have our C shape with parallel lines. So this pair of co-interior angles will add to 180. And we've got another pair of co-interior angles. So as we work our way around, we can find multiple pairs of co-interior angles. And again, the opposite angles in a parallelogram and a rhombus will be equal. Okay, our final shape is a trapezium. We recognise a trapezium because it's only got one pair of parallel sides. So the other two sides are not parallel. They can go in any direction, so they could be straight, forming a 90-degree angle, or they could be on an angle. So in this one, we've got one set of parallel sides, and the other sides can go in any direction. The special relationship in a trapezium is that we form a pair of co-interior angles. So here we've got, well, let's call them A and B. So there's one pair of co-interior angles, and here's another pair of co-interior angles. Let's call them C and D. And so we can say A plus B adds to 180 degrees. They're supplementary co-interior angles, and C plus D adds to 180 degrees. They're also supplementary co-interior angles. Okay, let's have a look at kites. So in a kite, we have two pairs of equal sides. So the top pair and a bottom pair. There's no parallel sides, but two pairs of sides of equal length. Now the angle relationships in a kite are that the angles on these sides, let's call them X, are equal. The other two angles have no relationship. So this one at the top and this one at the bottom have no direct relationship. Okay. Let's have a look at solving to find some missing angles in quadrilaterals. Okay, in this first one we're given 3 angles and we need to find the missing one. So we know that the sum of the angles is going to be 360 degrees. So if we start with 360 degrees and we subtract, so we can say x equals 360 degrees minus 109 minus 96 minus 70 degrees. So therefore x equals 85 degrees. Okay, let's have a look at the next one, see if I can write neater this time. Okay, so this time we're missing this internal angle here, but we can work it out because we've been given the angle of 58 degrees, and we're going to find x. So 180 minus 58 will give me this internal angle. So 180 minus 58 is 122 degrees. Okay, so now I'm going to add 87, 94 and 122. And that's 303 degrees. So I can say x equals 360 minus 303 degrees. So x equals 57 degrees. Okay, next one. Very similar. I've been given 2 external angles and I need to work out the internal angles so that I can then subtract those 2 and 132 from 360 and work out x. So this internal angle here must be 58, because 58 and 122 add to 180, and this internal angle here must be 68 degrees. So now I can say x equals 360 minus 258. So x equals 102 degrees. So let's have a look at some situations where we're not given all the angles. So up here in this example, I've got a trapezium. I've got one set of parallel sides. So that means I've got some co-interior angles. So these 2 angles will add to 180, and these 2 angles will add to 180. So that means y must be 60 degrees. And what x must be 85 degrees. Okay, our next shape is a kite. So I know that these two angles opposite each other will be 114 degrees. They will be equal. So x equals 114 degrees. Once I've worked that out, I can take all those angles off 360 to work out what y is. So therefore y is 44 degrees. Our last example is very similar. This time we are given the symbol for 90 degrees. So therefore we can say this missing angle will be 94 degrees. And if I start with 360 and take off 2 lots of 94 and then take off 90, my missing angle in the tail of the kite is 82 degrees. Thanks.